I never thought I'd see my brother's Tesla crawling up my dusty farm road, but there it was, looking ridiculously out of place between the tractors and grain silos. James always did hate getting his expensive things dirty. "Michael," he called out, trying to sound cheerful as he picked his way through the muddy yard in his Italian leather shoes. "We need to talk." I continued loading feed into the back of my truck, making him wait. 5 years ago he couldn't be bothered to return my calls when Dad was dividing the family trust. Now suddenly he needed to talk? "Still playing in the dirt, I see," he said, reaching me. "Even his casual clothes probably cost more than my monthly fuel bill. How's the farming going?" I straightened up, wiping my hands on my jeans. "Profitable. Which is more than I can say for some of Harrison Enterprises' recent ventures." His smile flickered. "Good." He hadn't expected me to keep tabs on the family business. "About that," he glanced around as if worried the corn might be listening. "The board is announcing a major expansion project next week. We're building a private airport to service the tech corridor." "Congratulations," I said flatly. "What does that have to do with my farm?" James shifted uncomfortably. "Well, as it happens, the perfect location for the airport is just north of the city. Where your land is." Of course. 5 years ago, they'd laughed when I chose to keep Grandpa's farm instead of taking my share of the family trust in cash. "Farming isn't a real business," our sister Victoria had sneered. "Take the money and stop embarrassing us." But I remembered what Grandpa taught me about land, how it was the one thing they weren't making any more of. How location and patience were worth more than quick profits. "Not interested," I turned back to my truck. "The farm's not for sale." "Don't be hasty," James stepped closer, lowering his voice. "The company is prepared to be very generous. $10 million. That's more than this dirt patch makes in a decade." I had to smile at that. James had no idea that my dirt patch grossed 8 figures annually. Between the organic certification, the solar farm leases, and the premium contracts with high-end restaurants, Grandpa's old farm had become quite the operation. "Still not interested?" $15 million, he pressed. "Think about it, Michael. You could buy a dozen farms with that money. Why stay stuck here just because of some sentimental attachment?" I turned to face him fully. "You really don't get it, do you? This isn't about money. This land has been in our family for 4 generations. "Exactly," he exclaimed. "Family. And Harrison Enterprises is a family company. We need this, Michael. The airport project is worth billions in development contracts." "Funny," I said quietly. "I wasn't family enough to be included in the trust 5 years ago. Dad made that pretty clear when he said farming wasn't a real career worthy of the Harrison name." James had the grace to look uncomfortable. "That was different. We were diversifying into tech then, needed liquid capital. You chose the farm over your share of the trust. No, you pushed me out because you thought I was just a simple farmer who couldn't understand real business. How's that working out for you?" His face reddened. The whole family knew Harrison Enterprises had been struggling since their failed tech ventures. The airport project was supposed to be their salvation. $20 million, he said stiffly. "Final offer. But you need to decide now. We announce the project next week." I walked to the edge of my property, where the rich bottomland stretched out toward the city skyline. This wasn't just dirt, it was prime real estate, perfectly positioned for the city's northward expansion. Grandpa had known that 50 years ago. "The answer's still no," I said. "But I'm curious. Does the board know you don't have the land secured yet? That their big announcement depends on a simple farmer selling his dirt patch?" James's expression told me everything. They'd assumed I'd jump at their money, never thinking I might have plans of my own. "The family needs this, Michael. Don't be difficult." "Family." I laughed. "Let me tell you about family, James. When Dad got sick last year, which one of us was there every week? When Victoria's kid wanted to learn where food really comes from, who spent a whole summer teaching him? This farm isn't just land, it's the only piece of our family's heritage that still means something." "Heritage doesn't pay shareholders," he snapped. "No, but 3,000 acres of prime commercial real estate sure does." I smiled at his shocked expression. "Did you really think I didn't know what this land would be worth eventually? Grandpa taught me more about business than Dad's trust fund taught you." 3,000. But the farm was only 1,500 acres when you all laughed at my career choice. Yeah, I've been expanding. Buying up neighboring properties while you were all chasing tech bubbles. Funny how cheap land is when people think you're just a simple farmer. James's face went through a fascinating series of emotions as he realized just how badly they'd underestimated me. The airport project wasn't just blocked. It was impossible without my cooperation. The board meets tomorrow, he said finally. They're expecting me to confirm the land acquisition is on track. Better update your presentation then. He took out his phone, probably to call our father with the bad news. This isn't over, Michael. The company has ways of acquiring land when needed. Eminent domain? I smiled. Good luck. My land is under agricultural preservation easements. Plus, I'm pretty sure the local papers would love to hear about Harrison Enterprises trying to force out a family farmer. Great publicity. He stormed back to his Tesla, trailing mud and wounded pride. I watched him navigate the rutted farm road, remembering all the times they'd mocked my choice to stay connected to the land. Inside the farmhouse, I went to Grandpa's old study. His portrait still hung above the desk where he'd taught me about patience, about seeing value others missed. Below it sat the latest offer from a major retail developer, 30 acres for $40 million. I hadn't told James about that either. Let him report back to the board that his simple farmer brother had outmaneuvered them all. My phone buzzed, probably Victoria calling to attempt damage control. But another call came through first. My produce buyer from the city's top farm-to-table restaurants. Michael, we need to double our order for next season. The demand for local organic is exploding. No problem, I said, watching James's Tesla disappear in a cloud of dust. We're expanding operations. I hung up and looked at Grandpa's portrait. He'd always said the best revenge was living well and proving people wrong without saying a word. But tomorrow's board meeting might be even better. After all, I had my own announcement to make soon about the boutique agrarian community I was developing on my land. Housing, shops, restaurants, and yes, even a small private airfield. All built around sustainable agriculture and renewable energy. Let them laugh at the farmer now. The Harrison Enterprises boardroom looked exactly as I remembered it, all polished mahogany and ego 40 stories above the city streets. I hadn't been here since the day they excluded me from the family trust, but now I sat in the reception area, deliberately wearing my work boots and a clean but casual flannel shirt. Victoria arrived first, her Louboutins clicking against marble floors. She stopped short when she saw me. Michael, what are you doing here? Morning, Vic. James invited me. I smiled, noting her perfectly tailored suit probably cost more than a used tractor. Nice outfit. Must be hard keeping it clean in a boardroom. She flushed, no doubt remembering her comment about how real business people don't get their hands dirty. The boardroom filled quickly. James looked like he hadn't slept, while our father, still chairman despite his semi-retirement, kept checking his Rolex nervously. The other board members filed in, giving me curious looks. The simple farmer was definitely not part of their usual proceedings. Now then, Dad called the meeting to order. I believe James has an update on the airport project. James stood tugging at his tie. Yes, well, about that. There's been a slight complication with the land acquisition. Complication? One of the board members frowned. You assured us last month that the location was secured. Not exactly, James cleared his throat. The land we need belongs to me, I finished, standing up. And it's not for sale. The room erupted in confused murmurs. Dad's face turned red. Michael, this is a private board meeting. You can't just dash. Actually, I pulled out a document. As owner of the largest undeveloped land parcel in the project zone, I have every right to be here. Your own bylaws say so. Victoria snatched the paper, reading quickly. Where did you get this? From my lawyers. The same ones who helped me structure my agricultural preservation easements. Oh, and my development company. Development company? James looked ill. I smiled, opening my laptop and connecting it to the room's display. Harrison Agricultural Developments. We're breaking ground next spring on a mixed-use sustainable community. Housing, retail, restaurants, and yes, a small private airfield. The satellite view of my property filled the screen, now overlaid with professional development plans. 5 years of quiet preparation, all revealed at once. This is impossible, Dad sputtered. You're a farmer. I'm a businessman who chose to farm, I corrected him. Something Grandpa understood even if he didn't. While you were all chasing tech startups, I was acquiring land. Building relationships with sustainable developers. Creating something real. I clicked through more slides, architectural renderings, environmental impact studies, municipal approvals already secured. Your airport project isn't just blocked, I continued. It's obsolete. My development already has the permits, the partners, and most importantly, the land. The board members were all looking at the numbers now. My project promised everything their airport did, plus the cachet of sustainability and local agriculture that their wealthy target market craved. Why didn't you tell us? Victoria whispered. Would you have listened? I met her eyes. 5 years ago, you all made it clear that farming wasn't a real business. That I was an embarrassment to the Harrison name. We were wrong, she admitted quietly. Yes, you were. About farming, about me, and about what makes a business sustainable. I switched to the next slide. Which brings me to my proposal. Proposal. Dad's voice was dangerous. Harrison Enterprises can be a minor partner in my development. 20% stake, no management control. In exchange, you get to announce that your airport project has evolved into something more ambitious. James started laughing, a harsh, desperate sound. You want us to work for you? The farmer. No, I want you to learn from me. About building something that lasts. About seeing value others miss. I gestured to the plans on screen. This project will generate more long-term revenue than your airport ever could. Plus, it keeps the Harrison name associated with innovation and sustainability rather than another soulless corporate development. The board members were nodding now, seeing the potential. My father sat very still, staring at the satellite view of my land, his father's land. The trust, he said finally. When we divided it, you knew this would happen? Grandpa taught me to play the long game, I said. That day you all thought you were being clever, pushing me out. But the farm was worth more than all your tech investments combined. You just couldn't see it. Victoria was still studying the plans. These profit projections are conservative, I finished. The waiting list for residential units already covers phase 1. Turns out people like knowing where their food comes from. They'll pay premium prices to live next to the farm that supplies their restaurants. And the airfield? James asked weakly. Small, private, solar-powered. Designed to serve residents and boutique business travelers. Not everything needs to be a massive international terminal. The board called a recess after that. I stood by the windows, watching tractors working my distant fields through the city haze. Victoria approached first. I'm sorry, she said simply. For everything we said. Everything we assumed. Farming taught me patience, I replied. And forgiveness. There's room for you in this project, Vic. If you're willing to learn new ways of thinking. James joined us, looking humbled. 20% seems generous considering how we treated you. It's not about revenge, I said. It's about building something meaningful. Something Grandpa would be proud of. And Dad. We all looked over at our father, still staring at the satellite view of his father's land. He'll come around, I said. The land has a way of teaching humility. Even to Harrisons. The board reconvened an hour later. They accepted my offer unanimously. As we signed the papers, Dad finally spoke directly to me. Your grandfather, he said quietly. He used to tell me I was too focused on quick profits. That I'd forgotten what really matters. The land remembers, I replied. Even when people forget. That evening, I drove back to the farm as sunset painted the sky in shades of gold. The tractors were finishing the day's work. The solar arrays glinting in the fading light. Soon this view would change, houses and shops rising from the fields, but always with the farm at its heart. My phone buzzed with messages from my siblings, dinner invitations, awkward attempts at reconciliation. I'd accept eventually. Family was like the soil. Sometimes it needed time to heal. Dad had asked to visit the farm next week. To see what you're building, he'd said. But I knew he really meant to see what I missed. I parked by the old barn where Grandpa had first taught me about patience and vision. His words still echoed. People see dirt and think it's worthless. But everything of value comes from the earth, if you know how to nurture it. The developer's latest offer sat on my desk, now amended to include Harrison Enterprises as a minority partner. Beside it lay Grandpa's old ledger where he'd mapped out this future decades ago. He'd known the city would grow this way, that this land would become priceless. Tomorrow I'd start teaching my family what he'd taught me about real value, about legacy, about building something that grows stronger with each generation. But tonight I walked my fields under the stars, remembering every mockery, every dismissal, every condescending laugh. They'd called me a simple farmer, never understanding that farming had taught me more about business than all their MBA programs combined. The best revenge wasn't in proving them wrong. It was in proving Grandpa right.